Welcome back, Jack Helmuth and Brian Sack, hosts of Questionable Material Podcast. And I feel like at this point, like podcast comedy allies.
Yeah, we're all on the same. We're all looking to entertain people. You by being smart, and us by being silly.
That's yes,
absolutely.
Exactly.
We are absolutely aligned, and we are we're such fans of yours, and so honored to be on your show yet again. It really means a lot to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is our 60th appearance.
That's right. That's true. That's what people don't know is I actually ask Jack and Brian to come on every time, but I mute them. So most of the episodes of the program have had Jack and Brian on, and they're just constantly texting on the group chat what they think the other guy looks like and making jokes and things, and I just ignore them. But
we're like that frustrated person on Jeopardy who's like, "Why is it my clicker? What is it? Not working?"
Yeah, exactly. Although I warn the audience, we're doing another installment of Friday Release Valve. So this is backed by popular demand. I used to do this on the daily program that I had, and once a week I would just cover the underserved headlines of the week, most of which were, I thought, awesome and hilarious. And this is a public service that we're all providing to just have a little bit of levity and catharsis at the end of the week. So if you're coming to this episode to try and find substantive analysis, skip backwards, because
you will be terribly disappointed.
Yes, this is all amusing pablum involving animals that have escaped and criminals in Florida, which constitutes most of the world's headlines.
Jack, I'm scared because he's already said catharsis and pablum.
I don't understand.
We're in over our head.
I don't understand if a third of the words this guy's using, he's British.
Yeah. And on top of that, the listeners can't see this, but my backdrop on Skype is a library, like a picture of a library I stole to try and further intimidate Brian and Jack so that they can't see me in my very cramped walk-in closet lacking a door.
What are all those things on the shelves?
They're VHS tapes, of course.
Doorstops. Why are there so many doorstops back there?
So
why are there so many of those firefighting rectangle things?
Yeah.
You toss in a fire. What? Weird.
So our first story today comes to us from Italy, and that is feral pigs eat and destroy $22,000 worth of cocaine hidden in the Italian forest. Pretty straightforward story. I read this. There actually wasn't that much to it. There are Albanian drug dealers. I think they killed a guy, and so the Italian authorities figured that out, and so they had to start hiding their drugs rather than going through whatever conduit they were using, and they started hiding the drugs in an Italian forest. And wild boars apparently found $22,000 of it, and that was pretty much the end of the story. They never said in the story what happened to the boars, and I was like,
I can tell you.
Yeah, what I guess
just look for a boar who just wrote a lot of screenplays.
look for a very aggressive boar.
Oink 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 oink.
That okay? So I don't eat pork. Except I eat pork once a year. I eat pork when I'm in Scotland because I'm a hypocrite. The rest of the time, I don't eat pork because they're smart as dogs, and I feel bad about eating anything as smart as a dog.
That's your reason. Okay,
yeah, and I don't claim this is a coherent ethical system, by the way. It's just my thing. I acknowledge that pork is delicious. I definitely would eat cocaine boar. Like I feel like that would be. I feel like a boar that would ate $22,000 worth of cocaine. I have to think that would be delicious.
Is that what they served? Cocaine? How much is $22,000 worth of cocaine?
I don't know, Jack. How much does that usually get you through if you drop like $20,000?
That's a Charlie Sheen in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Until about 3 a.m. Cocaine infused boar is what they served at Chris Farley's wake. I believe. I think if you Google that, I think I'm right.
Too soon.
Yeah, that's too soon. 23 years later.
Yeah, there's like a good month-long window between when people have got over it and before people have forgotten, and that's like a good 3 months from now. Brian, I don't know how much cocaine goes for. That's a good point.
I don't either.
Is $22,000 worth of cocaine? Is that like a handful, or is it like a bathtub full? I'm just going to assume from a basic economic supply line that they probably don't do it handful by handful. I'm going to assume it's a bathtub full of cocaine.
I think it would be like a brick, don't you think? I mean, it's got to be expensive. I really don't know drugs.
Right. Yeah, I really should have done more research on this. Like I usually prep for my other shows. This one, I just read that.
Do you have show notes? Because then you can show notes. You could show what $22,000 worth of cocaine looks like.
You know what? This would be a great icebreaker. You know, like did you guys go through this during quarantine where you're like, I haven't talked to Bob in a long time. I'm going to call Bob and see how he's doing and check in on him, right? This, like, I should call up my friend Gene and be like, hey, I was thinking of you. Do you know how much $22,000 worth of cocaine it'd be? And then when he answers the question, be like, great, thanks, Gene. And like that's it. Like that's just I figured Gene would know.
He's gonna hold up a box of Kleenex and be like, about this size.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I bet it is a brick of cocaine. I think I've seen a baggie. I don't even know, like the size of a larger external flash drive.
Uh-huh.
I would say a bag like that is worth about
Notice to
$200.
listeners, Jack is holding up a flash drive.
I don't want to brag, but I do own a flash drive.
You think that would be $200? That what you just held up?
I think that's about $200 worth of cocaine. So
no, that's crazy. It's got to
actually,
be way more than that.
I got to say, that's pretty cheap. Because,
Really?
based on my understanding of cocaine, which mostly consists of movies from the 1970s, I feel like a line of cocaine would be maybe 1/20th of the volume of a flash drive of cocaine, right? So, $200 worth of cocaine, that would, I don't know how much cocaine you do in a day, but I assume that'd get you through, a month. I'm also assuming people ration cocaine, which might be a lot.
I'd ask Alexa, but I'm worried Alexa would report me to the authorities. Alexa, how much for a gram of cocaine? 1 moment, please.
Or alternately, maybe all those restrictions have been relaxed right now, and Alexa will order you cocaine.
Actually,
and you'll just have to explain to your wife what's going on.
it is essential that you finish your yard work.
All right.
So what you say you don't eat pork because they're smart.
They're smart as dogs.
But you say cows are dumb? You're saying cows are idiots?
Yes, I eat cows because they're dumb. Again, I don't think this is a coherent. This is why I don't talk about this much, because people always assume that I am going to criticize their life choices. I don't I don't eat anything as smart as a dog. I also don't eat octopus because I think octopus are really smart. I wouldn't eat. I've been offered whale. I didn't eat it. I turned that down because whales are real smart. I wouldn't eat a dolphin.
Are whales smart?
Yeah, I think so. They're supposed to be pretty smart. But for me, it's a balance of intelligence to suffering, right? So I feel I don't think shrimp can suffer that much. I don't think they're that smart. So I don't think there's a part of a shrimp that's
I'm being eaten.
Right. It's there's pain, but there's not suffering, right? I feel like whales can suffer. I guess cows can suffer too, right? So if I am confident if I ever went to an abattoir, that I would probably become a vegetarian, because I would be confronted with all of the ethical things that I currently believe but can currently push under the rug. But anyway, pigs are as smart as dogs. That's straight up established. So I
know that.
Yeah, but I eat them when I'm in Scotland because they're still delicious. So I give myself a cheat month every year where I eat them and just hope that they were killed, in a reasonably humane way.
Let me ask you this:
Scotch eggs or something? Is that what you eat?
No, I eat a full Scottish breakfast every day when I'm over there. I eat a bucket of fried pork with baked beans and toast and 2 pints of beer. I have a caloric bomb every morning in Scotland.
Nice. So let me ask you this, Heaton. If I could prove that a pig was retarded, and which you can say in quarantine, they've relaxed the restrictions on that. You can say retarded again for the next month or two.
Okay,
if I could prove to you a pig was retarded, would you eat the bacon?
Potentially. Does it suffer unduly when it's killed?
No, he's sort of happy. He's that's a pretty knife.
Sure, if he's happy with it, yeah. That's
okay.
It's the suffering of intelligent creatures that I have a problem with, right? So I think
it's
it'd be
so
okay
odd.
with it.
It's so odd because I'm the opposite way. It's I have to have a blood diamond.
You want the pain?
Sparkle.
I would be fine. If you just had if somehow you could buy pork that just dropped dead. It was a pet pig, and then they're for whatever reason, it would feel better to us if somebody ate our pet pig. I'd be I'll eat your pet pig. They're delicious. Absolutely.
Well, they have that up here in upstate New York. They have naturally passed pork. It's NPP. If you see on the label, it'll say NPP, naturally passed pork, which means that it died.
Is that true?
No. Well, you joking? No. Are you guys crazy?
I had this, in my head, I just had this image of Well, immediately what I assumed was it was some guy putting pigs on treadmills until they drop dead from heart attacks, which is also horrible. And going, here you go.
Your face lit up.
Well, yeah, because it's delicious. No one's contesting that pork's not delicious. Everyone who's ever had pork acknowledges that it's absolutely tasty. So if I could figure out a way, like if I could have like Petri pork, like if you could like clone a pig minus the brain, that would be amazing.
Or if you could read the backstory of the thing where it's like this pig had leukemia.
Right.
And it was his time to go, then you would do it.
Or what alternately if they're like somehow they only rounded up the evil pigs. Like this pig was smart,
dick.
But this pig was actively trying to kill other animals for sport. And you're like, yeah, that pig deserved to die. I'll do it. Yeah.
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 I've said that phrase so many times, that pig deserved to die. That's usually when I'm watching a press conference.
Yeah. I was about to say, dates with Jack are awkward. He has a lot of thoughts on the animals he eats. He just kind of glowers like he defeated an enemy. Yeah. All right,
I have your strength now.
I'm gonna move.
Bested you.
I'm gonna move. We're gonna go north and west. We're moving away from Italy for our next headline to the United Kingdom, where we were just talking about man tasered as police officers and police dog injured after being shot with a catapult. This comes to us from this comes from Wiltshire. At least that's where the chase began. The chase began in Wiltshire. A Land Rover was discovered entering the South County from Dorset at 10 a.m. and authorization was given for the police officer to pursue it. And there was a young woman that tried to get out on foot, and then there was a guy. The paragraph was so weird.
Yeah.
It was.
I'm just going to read this because there's so much going on here.
Yeah, read it because it doesn't make sense to people.
Right. Yeah, me trying to explain this, it sounds like it basically sounds like I'm writing a Benny Hill sketch, and I'm not doing that. This is actual news. The vehicle came to a halt in Amesbury, or probably Amesbury, and a man and woman fled the scene on foot. The woman was arrested almost immediately, whilst the male driver ran from officers using a catapult to fire missiles at them and a police dog who were chasing him. 2 officers were injured, one in the head and one in the chest. Police dog Elvis was deployed, but was also hit by the catapult before helping officers to stop the man. A taser was also used to prevent the suspect from fleeing again. So there was a high-speed, what I'm getting from this is a high-speed chase, and then the man, from what I can tell, while running, was operating a catapult that had sufficient torque to injure 2 men and a dog.
That's what I don't get, because based on my understanding of catapults, and I'm no expert on siege weapons, but still, I always imagined they were big.
Right. See, that was my thought. I feel like if you're going to say which one's easier to move, a lawnmower or a catapult, I would have said hands down a lawnmower. I would say catapult's probably a 2-man job.
This needs like a photograph of what this weapon was, because somebody running through the woods with a catapult, it just doesn't make sense to me.
I'm going to openly solicit any listeners in the United Kingdom. There are some. Let me know, is Wiltshire the Florida of your country? Like, is Amesbury, is it like the Miami of the United Kingdom? Is this a normal thing here? Because this sounds like a Florida story to me.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. And I feel bad for police dog Elvis.
Yeah.
Who was deployed and injured.
I hope he got a knighthood. Like that. Like I'm rooting for that dog to become a knight. He's
going to take over for Prince Harry.
Yeah. I've mentioned this on the program before, but I don't know that I've talked to you guys about this. My arch nemesis is a penguin named Nils. Nils is a penguin at the Edinburgh Zoo where I used to live. And Nils is a Norwegian penguin. He is a member of the King's Guard of the King of Norway. And every time the King of Norway swings by, he like just every 6 years or so, the King of Norway comes by for, full Scottish breakfast or whatever. He always gives some sort of award or honor to this penguin. So he went from being a knight to being a lance corporal to, I think now he's like a brigadier general in the Norwegian army. Like it's like their third highest ranking military official is a penguin that lives in another country. And I achieved Eagle Scout. That is the highest rank I will probably ever have in life. And it really bothers me that a bird that can't even figure out how to fly is outranking me in terms of titles. But I am rooting for this dog, however. I hope the dog gets a knighthood.
I hope so too. And he's Elvis. Police dog Elvis.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So insert Elvis joke.
Yeah,
Shit, I should have prepared
no,
one.
it's cool.
Yeah,
I've got a filter jack. I've got like I do this all in Adobe Audition. I think I hit like Shift Control EJ, and it'll just insert an Elvis joke in the audio. No one will even know. Yeah, we're borderline near where we can be automated. We still have to do the heavy lifting though.
Here's your joke.
Huh?
Say it again.
You ain't nothing but a patrol dog.
Nailed it.
Not bad.
Gonna bring it over to financial news now. Elon Musk tweet wipes $14 billion off Tesla's value. Tesla boss Elon Musk wiped 11 billion pounds off the car maker's value after tweeting the share price was too high. It also knocked off $3 billion of Mr. Musk's own stake in Tesla as investors promptly bailed out on the company. And in other tweets, he said his girlfriend was mad at him, while beneath that, he wrote rage against the dying light of consciousness, and also said he would be selling his home previously owned by Gene Wilder. Impressive. Like, it is impressive to knock $14 billion off the economy with a tweet, second only to Donald Trump, and an ability to do that. I do like it. I think this is canny. I don't think Elon Musk is going insane. Like, because this story sounds like he's having a mental breakdown, right? Like, it sounds like Elon Musk has gone nuts. I think Elon Musk is intentionally trying to knock value off of Tesla, and he's going to buy it up while it's cheap. That's my guess.
That's your guess? I think my guess is that his drugs were eaten by pigs in Italy, and so he's just kind of losing it.
He's having cocaine withdrawal, and I was like, what's the best thing you could do when withdrawing from a narcotic? Go on social media and just air whatever's irritating you. Didn't he have like a thing 2 or 3 years ago where like a federal court ruled that he couldn't tweet because he was messing with stock prices or something? Yeah,
he offered up some information that the SEC said was not kosher.
Oh, so like insider trading or something like that? But if you tweet it, it's no longer insider trading. It's the opposite of that.
And part of his agreement was that he had to vet any tweets through lawyers.
So his lawyers are currently on cocaine, if that's the case.
Or just not paying attention.
Yeah. His lawyers have like 8-day beard growth and are in their yard or something like that. Yeah.
Well, keep in mind, this is the CEO who went on the Joe Rogan podcast and just smoked a big fat joint.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is fine. Did you guys listen to that interview?
I didn't listen to that one. No, I've only slowly gotten into Rogan.
I didn't have 8 hours that day.
Right. Yeah. I listened to the first 40 minutes of it, and I couldn't get through it. I'm told it picks up, but like Elon Musk is maybe it's because he was high. Apparently, not a very good conversationalist. Because the first 40 minutes of that is just Rogan pulling teeth of like, and like if you were to bring me onto Joe Rogan and be like, Heaton, what do you think about robots and colonizing Mars? Like, I can talk about that for hours. That is very much in my wheelhouse of stuff that I could talk about. But he's like, so like you want to like move to Mars? Why? Think it'd be interesting. Okay, how are you going to get there? We're building rockets. And you're like, oh God, no, this is just this is going to be like, they should have just force-fed him coffee and liquor. I don't know.
I love Rogan because he doesn't do any background research. He does no show prep. It's like so obvious. Every episode, he's like, you didn't read the book. He didn't see the movie. Like whoever he's talking to, he has a vague idea, and it's just but he gets the best guests.
Yeah, he does.
And just talks to them.
He gets top billing. I'll throw out for anybody starting a podcast, because I think the three of us were ahead of the curve on this one. But everybody else in America on lockdown is like, maybe I should start a podcast. For those of you starting out, I have been amazed at how much goodwill I curry with guests if I actually read their book. That's apparently that is apparently not industry standard. And I think it's probably radio that does it. Not to pick on radio people, but if you're doing a 3-hour show per day, you just can't. You don't have time to read a book every time you have a guest on. So you just get talking points and you wing it. Whereas like I'm doing a weekly show, I have the time to do it. And like there have been so many times where guests were like just shocked that I'd read their book and could actually ask them informed questions about it, as opposed to just be like, oh, so Penguin, that's a fun house, right? Like, yeah, good job there. Where like, are you up in Lansing? Where are you?
I did an interview years ago on a podcast about my first book, and So I went and did the interview, and they didn't have any questions to ask me. So it was like, pulling teeth, and it was just a really awkward interview. And then, a couple of days later, I listened to the podcast, and the first 10 minutes of them were the host joking about not having read my book and not knowing what to ask me.
Yeah.
And then,
wow.
Yeah, and then they had and so then like months later,
Man,
they're like,
Bob
"Hey,
Woodward's a piece of shit. That guy should get he should get his act together. That is just really unprofessional.
Lazy.
And months later, they asked me to come back on their show. I was like, I'm going to pass because I listened to the interview, and it was like, why would I do that to myself?
Yeah, of course. Did they have a response for that? I'm sure there was some poor embarrassed intern that was the one in charge of actually coordinating it. But
yeah, I don't think they were that advanced. But it was just kind of like, it was ridiculous.
Were they like morning drive guys or something like that?
No, it was just some podcast out of Brooklyn, and you're not, come on, talk about your book, sure. And I came on, but they just didn't know anything about it.
That sounds like.
But then they were joking about it on their.
That kind of sounds familiar. There are certain premises that sound funny in comedy that don't work well in execution. If you're going to try and sustain comedy based on you being drunk or crazy. That's not like that doesn't work. Like it sounds funny, right? Like, oh, the host is drunk or whatever. But like, no, that joke runs out of steam after about 2-3 minutes. You can't keep a series doing that. So a series based on like we're going to bring on authors and like comedically underprepare. I'm like, that sounds like a 5-minute bit that could not really be sustained. But then again, Woodward's doing pretty well, so maybe his podcast is maybe it's all right. I don't know.
All his books, I mean, all made up. That guy does a couple rails and then makes up a bunch of shit about Richard Nixon. That's how he does it.
He wakes up and goes, "Oh no! Oh my God! Somebody get a pot of coffee and like the Atlantic. Is there something around there we can steal from?" Yep, take that, Bob Woodward.
Classic Woodward. We got you. Burn. Well, back to Elon Musk real quick. This guy is in charge of now. Space. Space vacations and stuff like that. Do you really want to be on, the Elon Musk SpaceX when this guy is just like, he doesn't care about his,
right.
Maybe we need to blow up something in the stratosphere in order to really sink the stock.
Yeah, that is a good point. Like, if an airline pilot came on and was like, well, we're going to Cleveland today, I guess. I mean, I don't care. I mean, life's not really worth living in. Anyway, we should be there by 3:32, maybe. I'd be like, maybe.
That's the other thing. What's the other thing about that article on him? He's selling all his possessions. He's not gonna have any houses, and he's gonna sell all his possessions.
Yeah. He said.
So, I mean, that kind of suggests he's losing it,
right? Again, I think he's just undervaluing stock. I guess maybe I don't know. It's hard to get into that headspace too, right? Because I feel like there's a personality type that I wish I had and I don't. And the personality type is extremely like, let's do stuff, let's change stuff. I am not encumbered by reality, and I'm impatient. Right. And and that personality type, like kind of like the Tony Robbins personality type, is like, I want you to be excited. I'm excited. Let's do it now. And like we're not going to start a TV show. We're going to start a network. And like those people tend to like they are the movers and shakers in the world because they're the ones that go out and do the crazy stuff. And then we all like try and get jobs from them. So like that, like I'm not there. I'm not a part of that personality type. And like I wonder if you pair that with being a billionaire and now having to filter like millions of people who want to take a pot shot at you on Twitter, plus maybe being surrounded by yes men, your reality does become very warped at that point. Like it's difficult to ascertain, is this thing I'm doing brilliant and ballsy, or am I just crazy? Like right now, I am not successful enough to insulate myself from crazy stuff. Like everybody I know will tell me I'm crazy if I'm doing something crazy. But if you're a billionaire, maybe.
This reminds me of I went out for a friend's birthday party. We went somewhere, a bunch of people, and a lot of these guys they were very like Harvard-y, very, very smart. They all the dot-commer types, and they're always looking for problems to solve and things that needed to be. And I just remember this one guy telling me this story. He's like, he went on a bachelor party, and they woke up in the morning, and in his backpack were beef jerky and Red Bull, and his brain was just like, why don't I combine the two? and he created a company that makes perky jerky. And it's like
caffeinated jerky, which absolutely sounds like a product I would sponsor on my show.
But like no, and like he makes it, and he's telling me about the company, and it's and it had $250 million in earnings or whatever, and I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing. That's your company. He's like, well, it's a side project. Like that's just a side thing he did.
Wait, stop. Should I be trying to sell the products on my show? Like when I like market horse stilts and things, should I be contacting patent offices about this? Like I've got
can't hurt.
One of the early sponsors I had in my program was caffeinated crab dip. And then we had a follow up where like, let's say that you love crab dip, but you don't want to be too jazzed in the morning. You want to ease into it. You don't want to be all jangly. Well, we have decaffeinated crab dip. Like, could I sell decaffeinated crab dip? Is that a thing I could actually do?
You can certainly try. Whole Foods would pick it up.
Yeah, that's
that's true.
That is a good point. If I say it's artisanal or organic, I feel like I've got a very good shot. Yeah.
Right. Well, now I can't afford to try it, so oh well.
All right. To Boston, 11-year-old girl wearing medical face mask, stole car. Boston police say an 11-year-old girl stole a car in Dorchester last week. She was apprehended by police but not charged with the crime because of her age, authorities said. Police responded to Blue Hill Avenue at 8:30 p.m. To report larceny. A woman said she had left her car running with her son and nephew inside. Officers spoke to one of the male victims who stated an unknown black female wearing a blue medical face mask approached the vehicle, demanded the victim roll down the window. The victim stated when he complied, the female ordered the two male victims out of the vehicle, entered the driver's seat, and drove off. I gotta say, I respect the chutzpah of this 11-year-old girl. That is one. Yeah. She must be the most confident human being who's ever existed, because it doesn't even say anything about a weapon. She just had sufficient force of will to order two people out of a car and give it to her, and then she drove it at age 11. Like that, I think she's going to be governor of Massachusetts.
Or she might have just lucked upon the two wimpiest guys in Boston.
Yeah, I
need you to get out of that car. Okay.
So I'm going to have to disagree with you, Heaton. In Boston, for an 11-year-old to steal a car, that's called being like behind the curve.
Oh, that's a good point.
Hey, that's my hometown, sir.
Are you from Boston, Brian?
Originally, yeah. And
when did you steal your first car, Brian? Or truck?
I was a little immature, so I was 12.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know you were from Boston because you don't I
don't sound like an asshole.
Well, you don't sound like a dolphin. Like that was like and for the record, I like that. Like I've only been to Boston once, and I really enjoyed it. I thought people were far friendlier than they're made out to be. And
really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were to me. The takeaways I had were I thought people were very pleasant when I interacted with them. And then I also I kind of bemoan the lack of regional accents. Like they're kind of dying out. Like I lived in New York for 6 years. The stereotypical like, hey, look, I'm walking here. Like this is Brooklyn. You get a bagel. You know, whatever the thing. That's pretty much gone. Like I don't know anybody my age that talks like that. I'm sure there's a handful left, but it's not. You're not finding them. And then like I'm from Oklahoma. I don't sound like I'm from Oklahoma, partly because I watched a shit ton of Frasier when I was a kid. And because when I was a kid, like I'd watch for whatever reason, anytime Oklahoma was mentioned in the '90s, it either involved a tornado, a bomb, or a somebody going like, oh, fresh off the bus from Oklahoma. And so I asked my parents, I'm like, wait a minute, are we hillbillies? And they were like, sorry, kid. Like, yep, we're kind of that's it. And I was like, I'm gonna watch Frasier. But anyway, I like the Boston accent because it's even though it's grating, and I would absolutely, if I lived there, I would absolutely hire speech pathologists for any children that I produced to avoid saying anyway. I'm glad other people have that accent.
Hey, Ma. I don't know. I couldn't do it. But I'm surprised you find them like warm and stuff because they're always looking for a fight. Whatever you're doing, they're always looking for a fight. You bump somebody, they're looking for a fight. You're crossing the street too slow, they're looking for a fight.
Oh, you wore a T-shirt today, eh?
T-shirt boy?
Maybe I'm just not on the radar. I think that happens sometimes. Like when I lived in Oxford for a little while, and I was living with a family And they knew about it. It was fine. Everything, we all agreed to this arrangement. And there was a young man, like, let's say he's 17 or so, and he would talk about like how he had to be really careful in that neighborhood because people would like try and beat him up with crowbars and stuff. And I was like, oh my God. Like, first of all, I had no idea that anyone in England at this time was violent. Like, now I know there's a lot of violent people. But at the time I was like, this is like, I didn't know Oxford had an underbelly. Like, should I be worried? And he looked at me and he's like, no, you're not. You're just not going to be on the radar. Like, they can't, you're invisible. Like, I'm wearing a hoodie. I'm walking in a certain way. You're like some weird cartoon character from a Norman Rockwell painting that escaped to our country. Like, you're just not like, and I think that might be the case. Like when I was up in New Hampshire for the covering the primaries here a couple of months back, my car didn't work and I had to go in I had to call the company. They were going to come in and drop the keys off. And I went up to the desk and went, hello, my name's Andrew. I'm staying in, room 410. The company's going to come by. If you could drop and this woman just kind of gawked at me and I went, I'm sorry, did I offend you? And she shook her head and I went, is it because I'm a cartoon? And she just burst out laughing. And I was like, oh, got it. So anyway, maybe I was just a cartoon in Boston and people didn't know how to deal with me.
Funny.
That seems likely because, my experience is that they're all, what's the word, awful?
Hey. I don't like it, but I'm still from there.
I will say that there was a whole, exploring New England, having grown up in the middle of the country, is a fascinating experience because when you grow up in 90s Oklahoma, New England is just Bob Newhart strolling through golf courses next to windmills. It is nothing but very educated B&B owners that are going to professor class. That's our understanding of New England. That's where all the professors live. And then I went to a place called Fall River, Massachusetts.
Oh, sure.
And I'm talking to people and they're like, my uncle got laid off from the factory, so my grandpa punched the foreman in the face with a bottle. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a very different thing than I was anticipating.
Yeah, my anticipation is not that professorial type of thing. It's just a bunch of guys on a street corner yelling Jeter's gay 5 years after he retired.
Yeah, take that, Boston area. Take that, Dorchester.
Yeah, we don't need those listeners. Oh, we so do. We so do.
I just remember crossing the street. I'm crossing the street, in Boston, and I'm apparently too slow. Some guy gets out of his car, "What's your problem? Hurry up!" It's just like, dude. I mean, that's where I live in New York now.
I really like Hoboken. I did some work in Hoboken for a while, and I felt like Hoboken was this nice, alternate universe version of New York, where I was walking to the studio one day. A car stops. A guy gets out of his car and starts walking towards the passenger's window, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be a good old fashioned, New York street fight. This guy's going to pull him out the window and beat the crap out of him. And he's like, hey, your trunk's open, I got it. And then he closes it, and they drove away. And I was like, oh, nice. This is a good version of where I live.
But that's the mafia code. There was actually a body inside, and he didn't want the police to see.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you call it Hoboken?
Hoboken? What do you? I always say this wrong.
I call it Hoboken.
Hoboken.
What do you call it, Jack?
Well, you call it that way because that's how it's pronounced, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, the Oklahoma pronunciation of Hoboken is Hoboken. And so I am saying it correctly according to the dictates of my people.
Do you say Yar Yar Binks or Jar Jar Binks?
Okay, so I'm going to concede this one because I will allow the people of Hoboken to dictate how they say their thing. I do get kind of torn up about this because people will I feel like if you're going to correct people at other places' pronunciation, you have to be consistent about it. So if someone's I don't know, I say Prague, and people go it's Praha. I'm like,
no, that's just stupid.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I'm like, did you go to Paris? Did you go to London? Unless you're doing that, you need to shut up. You need to be. If you do it for all of them, I'll give it to you. But if you're going to pick and choose it to sound pretentious, I'm not giving it to you. Right.
No, you can Krakow, Kraków. You can, but Praha is what they call it if they're Czech.
Yeah, and I'll concede if you live there. I say Edinburgh.
Sure.
But I live there. And I say Glasgow, but my Scottish friends would make fun of me if I said Glasgow. But it was not literally beaten into me, but it was drank into me. I guess it was drunk into me when I was in Scotland how to pronounce these things. But I don't know how to pronounce. Yeah. All right.
Where are you from in Oklahoma?
How do you pronounce Santa's laugh?
Ho, ho, ho?
Oh, well, there you go.
What was the... Yeah. All right. Final story. Penultimate story. Man arrested 3 times in one day under California's coronavirus-based zero bail policy. Officers in Los Angeles County, where I live, arrested and released a suspect 3 times in one day after he was repeatedly let go based on zero bail policy. I won't read the whole thing because I think it's fairly self-explanatory, but this guy, I think, tried to steal a car.
That's what got me.
They caught him.
The headline... Go ahead, sorry.
He tried to steal a car. The police got him, and the current county policy, if not state, I guess it's statewide policy, is to do everything they can not to put people in jail to avoid, exacerbating the disease. So they caught him and they were like, "We're giving you a citation for trying to steal that car." That's right, a citation. You've been cited, sir. Do not steal any more cars. And he immediately goes and tries to steal another car. They catch him again, give him another citation, and lo and behold, a couple hours later, he does it again.
Yeah. When I read the headline, I thought they had cited him for maybe not wearing a mask or something.
Uh-huh.
But then when I read the article, I'm like, oh, no, he was actually stealing big things.
Right. Cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got to say, he's acting, I'm not going to say he's acting morally, but he is acting logically. He's acting very logically. If the cops are like, "Hey, we're going to ask you on the honor system not to do that because just so you know, crime has no consequence at the moment. There's no consequence to crime. You can do whatever you want. So don't do that, please." Of course you should go steal a car at that point. If you were already going to do it, yeah.
I mean, if I had a crate full of Oreos and I said to my kids, "There's not going to be any timeouts. You're not going to get in trouble, but just please don't eat them," that crate would be gone by 2:00.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you do.
I think if anything, I'm disappointed in that guy for not robbing a bank. I feel like you could probably, first of all, right now, if you just got a bunch of friends to not wear masks and cough a lot, I feel like you could already clear out a bank pretty well. And then you have a couple of them stand outside coughing. Like, I think you could create enough of a distraction that you could rob a bank in California at the moment.
Well, I'm just disappointed in what a crappy criminal he is.
Just
He get caught 3 times a day?
Right.
Oh, good point. Yeah, you know what? He's got stick-to-itiveness. We got to give him that. But he's not very evasive. Like learn from your mistakes, dude.
Like most of us get a speeding ticket and we're driving like 25 miles an hour for the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right.
And this guy's just immediately, I need another felony.
All right, I'm gonna do our last story. Report: man caught camping on Disney's Discovery Island says it was tropical paradise. A Florida man is facing trespassing charges after security found him camping on Walt Disney World's Discovery Island. According to the Orange County Sheriff's Office, Discovery Island was shut down in 1999. It was part of the Animal Kingdom Park. So this is an abandoned, or I don't know Disney World terminology. It's a fallow part of their park. And he was caught camping there and apprehended, and he's been banned from Disney World for life. My quick take on this is, I think if you can successfully live in Disney World undetected for a month, you should be allowed to live there forever. That you get like sort of Disneyland squatting rights. But if they catch you, I think you should have to be a pirate in Pirates of the Caribbean for the amount of time you were living there.
Judge of America Jack says, amen. I approve. That's a great idea.
Yeah, thank you.
If you could sneak into Disney World while it's all shut down and go live there for a while, like...
Oh, hell yeah. I absolutely would. I would totally go to the Star Wars area. 100%.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, have you been there? Have you been to the Star Wars place?
Not the one that just opened up.
It's amazing.
Galaxy Quest or whatever. Yeah,
Galaxy's Edge. It's
Galaxy's
amazing.
Edge.
Yeah.
Is it great?
The only thing that would make it better, Jack, is if no one else were there. And so now is the perfect time. If you're debating whether or not to sneak into Disney World, absolutely do it right now. Now is the time to do it. You won't be able to go on the rides, presumably, but you can walk around. It's still cool.
It's awesome.
All these aliens on their mobility scooters.
That's a good Disney crowd joke.
Yeah.
And by the way, Discovery Island, wasn't that what Jeffrey Epstein called it?
Oh, God.
Amen to this guy. This guy, he's a hero. Let's start a GoFundMe or whatever and get this guy out. And
let's get him to live at Busch Gardens now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe that's the thing. Maybe he should just make it a hobby to try and go to every different amusement park that he could.
But how do you get banned from Disney World anyway? Are they going to facially scan you when you enter? I mean, how do they know
I
that?
think they might do that now, because I went there. It's hard to remember the time before time, back when we had jobs and things, and like didn't live in our boxers. But in the time before time, I feel like in February, maybe even March, I went to Disney World, and I feel like they actually had facial scanners. Yeah, they did. They had facial scanners, but it was kind of like I feel like they were very Disney about it. We're like, this is just a quick, like, very easy security thing, and you get this, and we give you like 30 cents off ice cream or whatever the thing was.
But really?
I think that was there. Like, so maybe it was. I can't remember like no one was putting up a fight about it. Probably because you already went to Disney at 6 a.m. and you're not going to be like, nope, turning around.
Tell the kids,
yeah.
Sorry, Daddy doesn't like facial recognition. Back to the car.
Yeah. We'll go to Busch Gardens. They only fingerprint. That's the
Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah. Well, guys, I think we've now gone over all of the week's relevant headlines. So if you've come through this much of the program with us, you are now completely up to date on everything that's happened, not just in the United States, but in the entire world.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome, listeners.
Yeah.
And party doesn't stop. If you're like, I want more funny stuff, go check out Brian and Jack's podcast, Questionable Material.
You know what? I think it's a great piece of advice for people out there.
Yeah.
I like how it's breaking up when you're plugging the podcast, Jack. You're trying to plug in and it's going warbly, 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 warbly.
Yeah. It sounds like you're talking through a snorkel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, that's how the podcast always sounds. So check it out. It's called
Awesome.
Right?
Awesome commercial for the podcast. Great.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Andrew. I'm going to say questionable material without the garbling. There, see? I just said it, and there was no noise.
They stopped recording. That's why.
Great.
I only tell people I quit recording. I don't know how to turn the recording off. I later just it's a note to myself of, hey, Heaton, now you cut it off because Brian's going to start saying racial epithets. So you don't want to get anybody in trouble. But I will actually stop recording.